But it was essentially a breakdown of how bad the music business f***s you. What are they going to do?
What do they provide?
They can't even get you on the radio because the radio doesn't exist.
You haven't seen what true corporate evil looks like before you watch this. Because what Joe Rogan exposed about how record labels enslave artists led me down a rabbit hole that will make you never want to step in the shoes of a young artist.
The contracts are made to the artist.
After your tour and your hit album, that you'd be in debt to the record company, so they're like, you gotta do another album.
Subscribe to Elites Exposed for more, and tell me if you're also reading this the same way.
I think what had happened with Marvin Gaye was Marvin had achieved like incredible fame, but he got f***ed over in some record deal where he had like no money.
Yeah.
I think he had like
everybody in that era.
Bro.
So predatory.
Bro. You want to talk about predatory?
The worst.
Like
the music business is like the most disgusting.
You ever read the thing that Courtney Love wrote about it, about the music business? A lot of people don't even think she wrote it because it's too good. But it was essentially a breakdown of how bad the music business f***s you.
Yeah.
And this is at a time where you actually sold records.
Tons of them sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, because now the music business, like it's like the mask is off. Like it doesn't provide any value.
Yeah.
And they still take 50% of your touring, which is
of your touring.
Crazy. Yeah, 50-50. They do 50-50 deals. Merch, touring. Yeah. And then what are they going to do?
What do they provide?
They can't even get you on the radio because the radio doesn't exist.
And you don't even need to do any math to see just how sinister these record contracts actually are. The labels entrap young artists by controlling two of the most important choke points in the entire business. And that is the initial finances needed to make the album, and then the distribution networks that bring in all of the attention. And artists that have woken up to this trap, like Tom MacDonald, will be the first to tell you about it.
What you're about to see are real conversations I've had with major record labels over the last couple days. This is an email I got from Sony a couple days ago. Hi, hope all is well. I'm an A&R at Sony. Are you interested in having conversations with record labels at this moment? Artists, take note. This is how you respond to a record label. No. Send. This is an email I got from Rock Nation a couple days ago. Shout out Jay-Z. I gave him like 11 words, but they all mean no. Hey dude, thanks for reaching out. Big fan of the guys on Rock Nation, but I'm gonna pass. Send. This is an email I got from a distribution company not long ago. I mean, this thing just goes on and on and on and on and on. It's all BS. But they did offer me $1 million, so I wrote them a song in my response. We don't need no $1 million. Didn't. Send. These record labels don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about what you believe in. They don't give a shit about how hard you work to get here. The only thing that they give a shit about is your numbers. Because if you got numbers, they can exploit you for dollars.
Because think about it. What else can a record label even offer in a world where the internet allows every artist to just go independent and not sign with them? The answer is being signed to a label means the industry gatekeepers are more likely to let you in. You're more likely to be invited to the big parties and introduced to important people. And it's about getting access to vital channels of distribution and marketing that artists simply cannot afford on their own. If you rebel against the system, all of those doors are shut. But the way they structure their contracts is to make sure every artist stays in this limbo. Not independent enough to do it without them, but also not allowed to get big enough to not need them anymore. And in that limbo is where most bands and artists get stuck and allow themselves to be financially exploited for years.
After your tour and your hit album, that you'd be in debt.
Oh, yeah.
To the record company, so they're like, you gotta do another album.
Oh, yeah. And the record company's all rich.
Yeah.
Everyone's profiting.
Yeah.
And then also, they want you to subsidize the failures.
Yeah.
All these boy bands that they pushed that never made it,
Yeah.
all the money that they put into that, that's a part of the accounting.
So insane.
And then Hollywood does the same thing. They would do the same thing with like how much money a movie made.
Yeah.
Like there's been tons of lawsuits that are involved, that kind of stuff.
And that's because every single cost is recovered by the record labels along with the heavy profits before the actual artists ever get to see the crumbs of money that's left, if any. Most new artists know that they're too weak to challenge this entrenched system and don't want to be silently blacklisted. But icons like Michael Jackson and Prince have said the quiet part out loud about this kind of exploitation and picked a fight straight with the industry elites.
The reason why it became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist.
And the problem is, the labels know they can get away with it. Because in most cases, it's actually the record labels and their managers that handle how that advance is spent, and they make sure the artist can never walk away with enough money to buy their own freedom back. In other words, the record contracts aren't designed to be a ladder you can climb. They're a maze you're supposed to get lost in, and there's almost no artist that can ever get big enough to challenge that system. Prince, Kanye West, and Michael Jackson tried, but they knew they were up against a monster.
The record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists. Tommy Mottola, the president of the record division, is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
How many artists do you hear complaining about, we don't make money off our YouTube videos, we don't make money off our streaming, the label won't let me go, I can't do this, I can't do that?
Yeah. Well, so was the label the bad guy or what?
They're not the bad guys, just a system that was created many years ago that they're not changing. I don't give a f about you, me, him, or the other. Michael Jackson wasn't even making dollars off of his albums. So, for example, if they were selling Michael Jackson record Thriller for $9.99, right? How much money do you really think he made off of each copy of Thriller? And this is the 80s, and that sold the most records ever. He made a lot of money, but what you think the record labels made? They made all the money. So it's like it's time for it to be reversed. If the artist is the one who everybody loves and cherishes, he should be the one getting the finance.
And if artists are so worn down by that fight, imagine how much it haunts the new guys just trying to make it in the business. Because the music industry works in a way that I don't think any other creative industry works. It's where the artists don't even retain full ownership of their own craft. As Courtney Love put it, authors own their books and license them to publishers. When the contract runs out, writers get their books back. But record companies own our copyrights forever. And that's because record labels own not just the specific album or product. They own the brand of the artist, the very IP they are. And for the labels, that's like owning a toll gate from which everything has to flow and getting the first big cut from it all before the artist ever sees a dime. And someone like Kanye West, who's been an industry pariah for years, said it in some very blunt terms indeed.
That's the reason why I compare what's happening in the music industry to Me Too, because artists are, you've heard that term before. This is not like a new thing that I'm making up. The contracts are made to the artist. I don't know if you saw when I posted my contract, I had 10 contracts that kept on putting me inside a labyrinth. The music industry has people going to the exact debt of the house that they think they're gonna buy after the tour is over. And it's strategized. There's criminals all over everyone's almost accounts in the music industry. It's not a safe place. It's a treacherous place.
It's filled with money. As soon as things are filled with money, they're filled with people that are trying to take advantage of other people.
It's filled with money. Bees come to honey.
Exactly.
But the truth is, that's just the start of it. When record executives realize they've got a leash of control on these pop culture figures, they also realize they've got a handle on the broader culture itself. And what the culture is responding to in this attention economy is more clicks, more shock value, and more degeneracy. That's the only way you can explain to me why people like Sam Smith, Lil Nas, or Nicki Minaj have gone down a creative spiral like this for the sake of attention. But artists like 50 Cent have exposed something much darker about that system. So watch here what he revealed about the chokehold that Sean Diddy had on the music industry, and subscribe to Elites Exposed for more.